You're watching New Car Spin. I'm Brian Grant, and this is Jamie Morrow with Bugatti. We are at the very busy Bugatti dealership in Houston, Texas, and today we have two Bugattis to drive. This is the Chiron Sport, and behind it is the Chiron Pure Sport. And today, Jamie and I are going to drive both vehicles, and we're going to nerd out on all the technical aspects of the Chiron. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it. Yeah,
okay.
I love nerding out.
So I did read a lot about this vehicle. I will go around and say some things, and if there's anything you want to add, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can talk to you when we're driving. I can talk you around the vehicle, and there's a lot of stuff to nerd out on. So we'll have a good time.
Okay. First, I want to point out the tires. These are obviously special tires from Michelin for Bugatti.
Yeah, correct.
And interestingly enough, a gram of rubber, when this vehicle is going 400 kilometers an hour, a gram of rubber is actually giving a force of 3,800 G.
Yeah, and it's really overlooked in terms of the difficulty in getting a tire to be able to, the engineering that goes into that to get a tire to be able to do those very high top speeds. And even a difference in a car that will do, 180 or thereabouts and getting up over 200, 220, and it starts to get exponential in terms of the power that you need, the engineering that goes into the tires, the aero work to prevent lift. It's a really difficult thing, which gets overlooked occasionally.
Having to manage all that air is quite difficult.
Yeah.
I like how a lot of people talk about the trunk on this.
Yep.
And I'm not even going to show it because people have seen it before. All I'm going to say is, did James Bond ever carry luggage?
No, right?
No, but Mr. Bean did.
Yeah,
so.
well, there you go. Well,
yeah.
I'm British, and I actually had luggage in the Pure Sport the other day. I was driving from LA to up to Pasadena, and I had my carry-on, and I can validate that it definitely does fit in there, and there's even a little bit of room for a bottle of wine.
I'd prefer to have everything there for me when I get there, and I burn it when I leave.
Right.
Yeah, I don't need a trunk for that. Yeah. So I wanted to also talk about the engine, which you cannot see. So we all know it has 4 turbochargers, 6 catalytic converters, it has titanium exhaust on the Pure Sport, but what you might not know is that it's an 8-liter W16 with 64 valves. What impresses me most, 32 fuel injectors.
There's a lot of fuel going into there, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you go into a regular car wash, and I don't think you'll see 32 jets misting your car. So it's pretty interesting that there's that much fuel going into this engine.
Yeah, and again, it's a real work of art in terms of the engineering side. And the biggest challenge with an engine like this is, other than getting the 1,500 horsepower and making it reliable, it's actually heat. So the biggest problem is trying to get rid of heat from the engine. So that's the engineering challenge for that part of it.
Definitely.
More than the power.
Having to manage the heat, because basically it's 1,500 horsepower, as you know, but it actually puts off 3,000 horsepower in heat.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I read that.
Yeah. Good. You've read up.
Also, this wing is also used to brake the vehicle. When this wing is deployed as a brake, it generates 0.6 drag coefficient.
Yeah, and so how that equates is, if we're doing about 150 miles an hour, the braking effect we get from the wing is almost the same as you get from a regular vehicle at ABS. So it's really effective at high speed. And we use the wing, you can see it moving around now. It's an active wing, so not only do we use it for braking, we have it in different positions, be that height or rake, depending on what we want the car to do and which drive mode we have the car in. Right now, the car had the wing up because it was hot. It had some engine heat in there, so we have the wing raised.
Oh.
And it's now slowly putting it down because the engine's cooled enough.
This is perfect timing then.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. And only on New Car Spin.
Yeah. If you really want to geek out about it, the reason why it's doing it in little stages is if you were parked up at a restaurant and a kid is looking around it and they have their fingers in there, there's enough time for that. It just doesn't drop it down. So.
Very, very slick.
Yeah.
Very slick. Okay, I know that it has a dual clutch transmission.
Correct.
It's the largest clutch ever fitted to a production vehicle.
Yep.
And how many speeds does this thing have?
Seven speed in here, and it's actually one of the big differences you're going to feel between the two cars today. And really the key thing with the Pure Sport is the lower ratio gearbox, giving it more aggressive in-gear performance, and we've lowered the top speed, shorter ratio gearbox. So in the pure sport, when we're in top gear, when we're in 7th gear, it equates to roughly 5th gear in here, just over 5th gear.
Okay.
So it's quite a big difference.
Yeah, very big. And now, there we go. It's completely retracted, and it looks fantastic. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a fish, like very,
Yeah,
very, well, not in a bad way at all. Yeah.
And the only time the wing will be like that when you're driving is when the car's cold, or you have the top speed key in for very high top speed. You turn the top speed key, which raises our limiter up to the 261 miles an hour, and the wing will essentially be flat with a little bit of pitch on there.
Okay.
Every other time, in every other drive mode, the wing will actually be up, extended high.
For stability? Yeah. Okay. So, Ettore Bugatti is an Italian who identifies as a Frenchman, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. This is a DuPont. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so the equivalent of this car in a hotel valet, what do they call it? A forecourt?
Yeah.
Yeah. is this lighter in a cigar shop. So that ping will get the attention of everyone in the room. What I love about the W16 is the way it sounds when it starts up. That whir, and then the whole engine comes to life. So we will record that for you. Maybe have a separate video on Instagram, but we'll also do it on YouTube, and you get to enjoy this one and the Pure Sport, and you'll get to hear the differences between the two, because they are different exhaust systems.
Yeah, they are at the kind of back part of it, and but also in the Pure Sport we have a lot, we've taken a lot of the sound deadening out, so part of the weight saving, the 110-pound weight saving, a little bit of that was from sound deadening, so we can hear it more anyway.
Oh, great.
So it does sound quite a bit louder in there. And if you've ever driven a Veyron, one of the key differences between Veyron and Chiron was it's a lot louder. So Veyron was a very kind of turbo air sound that you got, and customer feedback before we were doing Chiron was, people enjoy engine noise, they'd like to hear the engine noise in the Chiron. So we do have a more aggressive engine note in here than we've previously
So it's pretty vocal?
Yeah, it's pretty vocal.
That's good.
For
that's
a turbocharged engine.
I love the details. The center line goes straight through and everything. We'll see that when we get into the car and drive it. Is there anything else I missed out here on the technical goodness?
There's a lot of technical goodness, which I'll kind of think about as we're driving. Things will come up, but as we were talking about the exhaust, one of the interesting things, I don't know if you noticed, but in the diffuser, so we have the 4 tailpipes, and then in the diffuser down here, we actually have an additional 2. You see it just over here. So we have an additional 2 pipes in there. Thinking behind that really was, having 6 could be a little fussy on the back end. But putting them in the diffuser, we essentially have a little bit like with the old Formula 1 cars with a blown diffuser. So we're using that for additional airspeed through there to increase downforce.
You know what? You do have a patent. Bugatti has a patent on the braking system for the cooling aspect, because they have channels running under the vehicle to cool it, and then they have 3 cooling vent systems on the front brakes. To keep it cool.
And we actually take air in from the side of the headlight. There's an air intake there, which is a braking air intake. Show you around here. So the holes here. That's related to brake cooling. And the other thing that we actually have a patent on is the back plate here behind the rotor. So if you see that plate, which doesn't move, it's fixed, but it's designed to draw air through the brake and expel it from the wheel.
Is it fixed to the barrel of the wheel?
Fixed to the hub, yeah.
Wow, to the hub. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's time to drive. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Looking forward to it, yeah.
Let me get my mask on here. We can hop in the car and increase my humidity levels. Okay, let's get in this thing. You don't mind if I drop off with it? With you in the passenger seat?
Yeah, no problem. I'll come with you.
You can explain all the goodness?
Everything about it, yeah.
Okay. I'll go ahead and give him the camera. I like how it says Sport on the door sills. That's really cool. Here you go. You can have that. actually is pretty easy to get into.
Yeah, they are. Once you're inside, they're pretty easy. They look a lot tighter than they actually are once they're in the car. So yeah, once you're in, sorry, there's a lot more room.
Okay, let me hold that for you while you get your seatbelt on.
Thank you.
So I think as we drive, we'll just go over all the drive modes and what these mean, and I think I'll start it with the door open so we can just kind of hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me get my seatbelt on. Just be sure to check your mic, make sure it's plugged in.
Yeah, we're good. Good.
All right, so I'll hold this to start it.
Okay.
So foot on the brake and the start button. Ah, yes. Lots of carbon fiber in here, real carbon fiber.
Real carbon fiber. You'd be amazed how much I get asked if it's real carbon fiber, but yeah, it's real carbon fiber.
Really nice carbon fiber. So they adhere to the WYSIWYG principle, meaning what you see is what you get, which is usually a software term, but literally if it looks like leather, if it looks like metal, if it looks like carbon fiber, it is. I like the detail in the ceiling as well. And then the other cool detail we have is this spine. What would you call this?
Yeah, the spine.
Yeah.
And the actual part here we call the C-line, and that follows through in various design parts of the car. You obviously have the large C-line on the outside of the car, which separates the shell from the rear shell from the front of the car. And that's a big design cue for customers as well, because you can actually colour the front of the car differently from the rear, and that C-line is the braking colour.
Okay.
So you can have white front end, black rear end, and so on. So.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen that before on the Veyron.
Yeah, and it's more pronounced in here though because of that C-line. So it's a real definitive. That's the front of the car in one colour, and that's the back. We have a car actually in the showroom here, which I can show you, which has a twin colour.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Also, the monocoque on this is 100% carbon fiber.
Yep.
Takes 500 man hours to create, and if you were to line up all the fibers end to end, it would stretch between the Earth and the Moon 9 times. Yeah,
pretty amazing. And a really cool stat that we have about the monocoque is it's actually stiffer than an LMP1 race car.
Nice.
So it is as stiff as you're ever going to get in a car, be that race car really or street car, and that gives us really good control. So if you have a very stiff platform, then every movement that's happening in the suspension is coming from the road. You're not getting flex, and so you get better control with how you're damping the car. Wow.
Okay. The last thing I want to point out is these stereo speakers. The tweeters are 1K diamond plated, coated somehow.
Dust. So there's 1 carat of diamond dust in each tweeter, yeah, for clarity.
And they are so clean and crisp that you can actually tune the stereo to the upholstery in the vehicle.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's an incredible system, and everything on the car is so detail orientated. It blows your mind.
For the price of these cars, I would assume, it would definitely blow the mind. I'd assume too, if I wanted bacon for the upholstery, I could get bacon. But
you probably could. Yeah.
That was a joke. It was a joke. All right. So before I set off in this, what is someone going to expect when driving the Chiron?
Do you know the thing that jumps out most to people initially when they drive it is how easy it is to drive. So we have all-wheel drive, we have permanent all-wheel drive, we have the twin clutch gearbox, but obviously we have the automatic function on there, so drive and sport function. We do have a pedal override, but just in terms of pulling away and getting going driving, it is really easy and very comfortable. And the car is relatively wide, but it doesn't feel particularly big when you're in it. It's quite short. You're towards the front axle line. It makes it very easy to see where you're going at the front. So yeah, it's an easy drive.
Okay. So I have never driven a Bugatti before. I really appreciate this. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And we will head off.
Great.
So put on the brake, move it over to the right.
That's it. It'll confirm that we're in drive in 1.
Got the brake off. Clear. So we're in lift mode right now.
We are in lift mode, yeah. So we get about 2 inches of additional height clearance on the front, which is handy for if you have a garage with a ramp or whatever you might need it for.
Does it automatically resume?
Yeah, so once we get over 34 miles an hour, it will drop back down into whichever drive mode you had it in
Last.
prior, which would be EB. Yeah, so it works very well.
Is this a tricky little spot here?
This will be okay, and then
Yes.
got an angle there.
We'll just leave it in lift mode and let it resume. when it
Yeah,
gets
just
here?
let it come out by itself.
So we're gonna go to the right and then loop around and then get on the freeway and head that way. Is that okay?
Yep, that's
Okay.
perfect.
I'll let you co-pilot there. Once it's clear, we're good to go. I am not nervous. This car is what, $3.5 million?
Yes.
Not nervous.
Yeah, and so 3.4 million MSRP for this particular model, Chiron Sport, and in the spec we're in, we have a couple of options. We're running about 3.7, I think, on this one.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's a lot of toe in, like instant response. I was just feathering in the throttle. That was amazing.
Yeah, so we have one of the very unique things with the Chiron and the W16 is the torque curve. So we actually get peak torque of 1,180 pounds-feet of torque, which obviously in itself is pretty unique. But we get it from 2,000 RPM, and essentially we have a flat line torque curve almost until the red line. So essentially, anytime you're driving, you are pretty much with peak torque there.
Oh, well, yeah, I knew that we have some displays here. We could see the horsepower and the tachometer. Let me see while we're stopped. Let me just show that. So, horsepower is right in here. Tachometer's on the outside. There's the fuel. Fuel doesn't matter in a car like this. Fun cars, race cars. I mean, only if you're going to try and win the race does it really matter. I did want to point out this mirror. If you could just see how thin this mirror is from here. This is a very Art Deco designed car. I am blown away by how they just go above and beyond any car design I've ever experienced. And this is brand new. Like, sure, there's really cool stuff, but Bugatti has always had a history of being very sophisticated, or I don't know what that word would be, but sitting in here, I feel like I'm in a whole other world. You know.
Yeah, and there's a couple of interesting things. You were talking about the dashboard there. You will notice that the speedometer is actually analog, not digital, and that was a thing by the designer of the Chiron, who wanted, if the car's parked up and there's a child looking at the car from the outside, they can see that it has 300 miles an hour on the speedometer. And additionally, no LCD screen in the center of the dash, and that was designed to help the car have a more timeless kind of look. It ages better. If you notice on most modern cars, even 5 or 6 years ago, the LCD screen is really the thing that really ages the vehicle very quickly. So we don't have that.
So there's no blind spot monitoring, but there's some pretty good visibility.
Yeah, there's good visibility. It's very open. There's a lot of glass in the car, which really helps.
And this whole body, the shell, everything is carbon fiber.
Yeah, everything. Even on the Pure Sport and the Sport, we have a carbon fiber windshield wiper. The arm is carbon fiber. So yeah, really the only materials are carbon fiber. There's a little bit of aluminum and a couple of things like the brake bell and titanium.
Okay. Yeah, I notice, you know, when you're in a car that is this light as far as the construction material, you get a lot of sound that sort of permeates the cabin, and I like that sound because it's a pure
Yeah.
road. You know, like people used to say, "Oh, I like when I feel the road,"
Yeah.
but in this case, I'm absorbing everything acoustically, and I feel it. Like the experience so far is this is not a replacement for a jet, right? This is a sports car, hypercar, supercar. This is a good experience for someone who loves to drive.
Yeah,
So.
and you know, the Pure Sport takes that to another level. It's meant to be really for those guys who are driving the car, guys and girls who are driving the car, and their primary focus is the drive experience in terms of, you know, the noise, the acceleration, etc. With the Chiron and the Chiron Sport, we definitely have that element, but we also have an eye on refinement, and you know, it has to be a practical and comfortable car.
Just want to make sure that if you could turn the camera, I can just make sure it's still recording.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So we're going to rely on you for the next direction here. So
Yeah,
I
if
think
we follow 290.
290
Thing?
west.
Yes.
Yes.
West,
Okay.
yeah.
It's amazing too, the perception of the speed right now. It says we're doing 62 miles an hour. I feel like we're doing 25.
Yeah, and if you notice, we're at 1800 RPM.
That's a part of why it feels that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just idling.
Yeah.
And I've seen the interesting information on these gauges. We'll talk about it when we're parked. I don't
Yep.
need to distract anybody from the experience. But what I want to do is give people this experience. That's 80. And you can hear it's like a gentle white noise, like a coddling whoosh. I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, that's right, actually. It's a very relaxing, kind of calming sound. And yeah, so we have two primary sounds that we hear in the car: the exhaust tone at lower RPM and also higher RPM, and the turbo sound in the mid-range. And particularly if we build up boost pressure in the car, so if we get to like 4,000 RPM and we're using a lot of throttle, and then we close the throttle, we hear the wastegates open and dropping that boost pressure.
So is there a way to control the wing at all? There's no button in here to change the angle or anything. The car is automatically handling all of that.
Yeah, only from the drive mode control on the bottom left of the wheel.
Okay.
So in Autobahn mode, it increases the height of the wing a little bit and puts more brake on the wing. For high speed, straight line effectively. Handling mode, it will extend the wing to its highest level and put more rake on it as well, again. So they're really the only ways we can control the wing.
Okay. Luckily we have a carpool lane coming up, and there are two of us in the vehicle, so we will have a chance to experience the carpool lane in a Bugatti. So the interior color, the colors are optional. You can get a big selection of colors. I think there's 60 interior colors.
Yeah, and there's also personalization as well. So
oh yes, wow, you knew that was coming.
So yeah, the in terms of color, particularly on the exterior, we have customers who have a favorite color or something they want to color match, which we can do. In a painted form, for the carbon fiber, we have our select colors, which they can pick from, and then on the interior, yeah, there's a lot of personalization. There's also stuff that if we look down here, we have the Chiron Sport logo, and there's customization you can do here. Same with the rear of the seat. Here we have the Chiron logo. There are options for that. So yeah, it can be a very personalized vehicle.
So the passing power of this thing, they call it elasticity.
Yeah.
So it can go 30 to 70 miles an hour in like 2.5 seconds?
So for the Chiron Sport that we're in now, it's 4.3, I believe it is, and it's 50 to 72, top of my head. I have to check the figures.
No. I think it was 4 for the doubling the speed, so 60 to 120.
I have to check.
We'll have to, okay.
Yeah,
let's do a bet. Like we'll bet a pint. Yeah.
But yeah, and we've actually almost halved it on that 50 to 70 range in the Chiron Sport with the lower ratio gearbox. We've almost halved it. So you talking about elasticity, that's a big thing with the gearbox in the Pure Sport.
You know what would be interesting is, you know how you don't want to be caught speeding, you shouldn't be speeding, but if there was a way where you're like, oh, I should slow down without using my brake lights, I'm thinking like I need a deploy button for the air brake.
Yeah, right.
You know, like I could do that in my jet, you know. Like,
yeah.
But this is full autopilot from that perspective. Does it have the radar cruise or any of that?
No, we have cruise, but we don't have a radar cruise on here.
Okay.
You know, you look at the front of the car, the most that we have on here are parking sensors just to that, but the design is so intricate at the front and very functional as well in terms of the air intake. So no radar.
Okay. So I hope you're all enjoying this experience so far. Once the traffic opens up, we'll experience a few things within reason, and yeah, for now, just chill, enjoy the ride. This will be a long video. We're going to drive both of them, so I just have to make sure there's a way to pass this guy without being a total douche. That's kind of like the way it works with these high-powered cars. Even like a lesser car that has some sort of power, you know, like 400 horsepower, you're still going to want to time your passing. You want to see a clearing. And then you also have to anticipate what those other people are going to be doing in front of you. So for me, I take a very cautious approach. There should be no reason to ever tailgate or pass on the right unless it's a little different in Texas with these trucks that sit in the center lane. So when I'm driving a $3.5 million car, though, I don't know what to say. Okay, so once this guy clears this truck, is it okay if I pass and go straight a little bit?
Yeah, around the HOV.
Maybe we can show the analog gauge at some point. Oh, okay. Should I floor it?
Yeah, you can give it a little...
Okay, so I tapped the brakes a little bit at a decent speed, and the air brake did not deploy. It's still in the. I see in the mirror the wing is now higher up, and the traffic is now out of my line of sight. But I want to see if I can hit that air brake. I guess I'd have to brake from either a high speed or just really hard, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to do on the freeway.
Yeah. You can have a look when we get off. But yeah, quite a hard brake. We'll trigger the air brake.
Okay.
Get it going.
I'm thinking at some point in Texas you're required to have one mirror. So if you're okay with me using this mirror, at some point if we can adjust this mirror for you, you could show it with the camera.
Yeah, no problem.
When we test it. Okay. I love the sound. You know, it's a turbine effect actually. You know, if you've been on a jet and you know you can hear the spooling of the turbine, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So you hear a spool, and then the sudden acceleration happens at some point. I mean, I'm not really flying on instruments here, so I'm just going by the seat of my pants. But
and we have a really interesting way of we essentially have suspension turbocharging, but in a very interesting way. So we have 4 very large turbos to develop the horsepower. Obviously, the problem with 4 very big turbos they're 26% larger than we had on Veyron, so they're very big. And turbo lag is an issue with large turbos. So to negate that, we actually have a valve whereby under 3,800 RPM, we direct all of the exhaust gas through 2 of the turbos. That allows them to spin above 3,800 RPM, we open the valve and bring in the additional two, so we can develop the big horsepower.
Okay.
But it's very smooth. Even if you look at our power curve, you can't really see where that happens. You can't really feel it when you're driving, but it really helps to minimise any turbo lag.
You know, I haven't had sleep for like the last 4 days. I've been so excited to drive this. I'm like, I don't know how you have this job, Jamie, but I don't know how you sleep at all. But I'm like, I'm gonna drive a Bugatti. I'm gonna drive 2 Bugattis, and now I'm in it, and I feel like this is not happening. This is crazy. This is amazing. I like it. But the feeling. I mean, as an automotive journalist, people always ask me, the first 3 questions are, what's the fastest car I've driven? And I'd probably say, the Bentley Continental GT. Yeah. What's the most expensive car? The Rolls-Royce Ghost. And what's the most powerful car? I'd be like, that's the Challenger Hellcat Red Eye, 797 horsepower.
Right.
It ends today.
Yeah.
Today it ends. Because this Chiron Sport is the most powerful, most expensive, and fastest car I've driven, and it nails all 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do a horsepower quota.
Yeah. Well, I've driven that Hellcat in the rain, so I'm assuming this would be a little bit easier because it's all-wheel drive. Or is it? What is the power distribution?
All-wheel drive. We can put, depending on what drive mode we're in, we can put up to 70% to the rear.
Okay, I'm gonna pass again.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Want to get the gauge kind of thing? Okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't mind. It's for me. It's the way the laws work around here. It's okay. But let's go for it.
Okay.
Ready? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the air brake that time.
Oh, you did?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So. Woo! I guess they're like, the quote-unquote speed freaks out there, and this is a whole new level. There's a whole new level. I know that there are certain requirements, right, for owning a Bugatti. You don't just go buy one, right? So it used to be that you were interviewed. Is that still the case?
Do you know what? I don't have a lot to do with the actual sales side. I don't think that is the case, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on
that. I do not race,
Yeah.
so I don't know what he's trying to do. Okay. I just don't want to get wedged between a truck and a Toyota.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Doesn't look good. Wow. And then, as we're going through this bend, the steering wheel feels amazing. The grip, there's no wrong spot to hold this steering wheel. And the material, it's not a fabric, it's like a extreme suede. I don't know what they would call it. Do you know what the name
Yeah, I
is?
don't know actually the name. Yeah, but yeah, it's like a halfway house between a leather and a Alcantara.
Yeah. It's kind of rubbery,
Yeah.
extremely grippy. And I think that for me, this is the perfect steering wheel. It feels so purposeful. And a lot of people complain about electromechanical steering being vague and wishy-washy. I like the laser precision I get from electromechanical. So this obviously feels that way. But is it electro or is it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, so, my job when I'm not with Bugatti is to drive a car as fast as I can drive it and as fast as it will go faster than the next guy. And if I'm being completely honest with you, whether it's mechanical, electric, whatever it is, it doesn't make a huge difference to me. There's a lot spoken about it. I think electric steering these days is so good that I don't know if there's really a noticeable difference. I mean, maybe I'm
Yeah, I just know that like in the regular daily use,
Yeah.
no matter what kind of car it is, it could be a Volkswagen Jetta.
Yeah.
I mean, you can turn in and you get a precise angle of attack
Yeah, right.
in a corner.
Yeah.
And I think people don't understand that that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
From that electronic aspect is there's no delay, and they may say the vague feeling, but I think that's down to tire pressure and the type of compound. Right. So the tires that are on this car are different from the Pure Sport.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the tires we have on the Pure Sport are a Cup 2R, so it's a softer compound rubber.
Okay.
And the interesting thing with the steering here, talking about electric steering, we actually adjust the weight of the wheel every mile per hour. Most people do it every 2 miles an hour, so we're doing it twice as much as regular. So particularly important for a very high top speed. You get a bit more weight to the wheel. It's not, if you're doing 261 miles an hour, you want to try and keep the thing in a straight line. You don't want any sort of wobble in there. So we're very precise on the calibration for weighting.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of engineering, and I think when you realize there are only 500 Chirons being made.
Yeah, 500 in total.
And that includes all the one-off editions,
Correct.
like the Pure Sport, which there will only be 60 of those. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But for now, what you're getting is a part of that price tag, because it is pretty steep. You're getting all that engineering, and they're not replicating it to other vehicles. Like, they're not selling the technology. They own it.
Yeah.
So the patents on the braking, the whether 90 ECUs on this car, there's an insane amount of computing power in this car.
Yeah.
It's actually military grade. What do they call it? The electromagnetic field protection.
Say again, sorry.
The electromagnetic field protection. This car has military grade protection.
The name is for it, yeah, but
it's. They didn't actually have a name for it. Yeah, we're going to make a U-turn. We're going to make a U-turn, head back to the dealership, and then change to the Pure Sport. My car says it's 10:11 a.m., so I don't really know what time it is, but we're done at 1:30, and such a visceral resonance. Can I roll the window down a little bit? I want to hear in this. Now, does it crackle and pop when it downshifts?
No, it doesn't. No. There's a tiny, we call it crackle. I wouldn't really call it pop, but it's a tiny, I guess pop would be the word, but it's very, very, very subtle. You'll hear it a little bit more in the Pure Sport, but no, it's not a traditional.
Okay.
Bang.
What time do we have?
We are 12.
Oh, okay. Wow, that toe in. It feels so responsive. I can't feather it in like gently. I just sorry. Wow, that's like 1,000 RPM. I love that. I don't think we got above 1,500 just to get on this freeway with this traffic.
Yeah, that's always the shame with such a beautiful engine and the power that it's a challenge to use it at times.
I think we'll just keep moving over if we can. So, and that's the problem I have sometimes. Like, I've driven Audi R8s and other vehicles, and people get close to watch you or look at it, and they're in your blind spot. Like, they just sit there. They don't know. They're totally oblivious to what they're doing.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah, you get people who, if they want to try to take a picture, and they kind of hang by your side.
Oh my God. Okay. Beautiful. So sometimes it's easier just to change lanes when you're going faster because you know that you're not going to have someone in your blind spot if you cover so much feet. And that's amazing too. Like you've got acceleration, and then the most important part is the braking, right? And the braking power in this thing is pretty epic without the air brake deployed. I feel really no difference between the attenuation, or what do you want to call it, the brake bias?
It's when you have the air brake on, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very subtle, and which actually is great for the fuel sport, because you don't notice that we don't have an active wing or the air brake there. But yeah, the effect of the air brake at high speed is really significant, as we talked about earlier on. It does make a huge difference for the Chiron and the Chiron Sport, where, you know, technically you can be up to 261 miles an hour. That's a lot of work for a brake rotor to do by itself, so having an air brake is a great addition.
Yeah, and these brakes, they're carbon ceramic?
Yeah, correct. So they work very well standalone, which will be a lot of fuel sport, but yeah, you add the air brake, especially for that very high top speed.
Wow. I like how it manages the ride. I feel like this is obviously a very smooth stretch of pavement, but it's very lulling, and then you've got these little expansion joints and stuff, and it knows I don't need to feel that. Like, I guess if you were to put it in sport mode, which I don't need to do, Autobahn mode, sorry, it would feel a little bit more tense.
Yeah, so it just feels, I mean, you're welcome to flip it in and feel it for a second.
Just rotate this?
Yeah, just take it to the right there, that's it. So,
okay, I see the bridge, it says Autobahn. Okay.
Autobahn.
And it's not changing the transmission, it's not kicking down, it's not changing exhaust mode, the steering feels the same.
So the drive control is purely for basically our aero suspension.
Okay.
And the gearbox is standalone with the drive and sport mode on here. So they're separate from each other.
So the suspension itself is a little bit more on guard for things like these bends in Autobahn mode?
In Autobahn mode, it's a little bit firmer, but really the key with Autobahn mode is it's a mode that we put it in if we were going to do nice high top speed cruising.
Okay.
Not the very top speed, which we use the speed key for, but sub 237. We use Autobahn mode by increasing pitch on the car. It makes it better aerodynamically. So,
okay. Maybe you can kind of show on the camera what pitch would be, like with your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pitch of the car, if it's our car looking at the side on view, pitch is the angle of lean front to rear. So pitch forward, pitch rear. So a car that's pitched forward, i.e. the front is a little bit lower down than the back, it's better aerodynamically.
Yeah.
If you look at the current F1 cars, actually, the Mercedes is actually an exception to the rule. When you look at the Red Bull, it runs very high pitch. The front of the car is very low. You can see quite a lot of air under the back. Big gap under the back of it.
So you've done races and you also do stunt driving. Like, what's your favorite?
Between the two?
Yes.
Good question. I think the competition element of motor racing is what motivates me. I like winning. I'm a competitive person. Not very good at losing, whatever it might be. My wife hates that. But yeah, so that is really my kind of motivator. But I do love, you get to do some fun stuff with the filming and TV, and I do love messing around with the car. I love going sideways. And it's not really something we get to do in motorsports. So it's fun.
Oh yeah, kind of like clowning around, but serious clowning. Yeah. So you're like a true stand-up of the automotive business. So I have to ask you then, because I mean we could talk about the stuff you've done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done driving on like Top Gear UK, right?
Yes. So been one of the kind of drivers. They have a pool of drivers that they use. So not the stick, it's a separate guy. But for doing synchronized stuff, if we're doing something on the runway or sideways or whatever it might be.
Okay. And then what's your favorite car like experience? Like, is it jumping for like I know they've done some like soccer field stuff and it's really technical driving aspects to it. Like what's given you the best challenge and you were like, yeah, that was cool?
Probably the thing that I enjoy the most, which isn't really a Top Gear thing I've done for other people, I like crashing cars. You know, normally if I crash a race car, then the team boss isn't very happy with me, whereas when you're getting paid to do it, you know, they want you to actually crash it. It's kind of fun. So I kind of like doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah. And, you know, I love sideways things and everything like that. But yeah, the crashing's unique. You know, who gets to crash a car? So.
Who gets to? I don't know. I mean, we don't want to.
Yeah. Hopefully, we might try that today. But
No, that's not going to happen. Thank God. But yeah, I think the fun part is like being told like this is what you're going to do today.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'll take that.
Totally. And you know, I've done a few things where you know it's like crashing into the back of another car, and it's fun. And then like you know, it's not something even as a race driver that you do. You know, it's different. But again, you're doing it intentionally. It's not you've gone off track. And so that really gets my adrenaline going. You know, I enjoy it. It gets me heart going.
You definitely, yeah, you definitely got to do it right the first time too if you're going to crash it, right?
That's right. Yeah. Occasionally we'll have you know 5 or 7 of the same car, so that there is a budget for crashing them through the production.
Okay.
But yeah, you certainly, you know, even with that, you need to get it right the first time normally because the second car's you know, scheduled for the shop, so you can't go through all 5 cars and then you're without cars. So,
Yeah. Sorry you didn't crash it right.
Yeah.
Next time do it properly. Yeah.
That's interesting, you know, all of the kind of film stuff, there's so much planning that goes into it, especially with something like a car crash or a car chase, you know.
Okay, can I open it up a little bit here? Wow.
So you can feel it's a little bit firmer there with the in-auto mode.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put it into happy mode, you want to...
Okay, let's go ahead and show that here.
Yeah.
So the people need to believe I did that. Okay, I saw on the mirror the wing change, it says
Yep.
handling here, and I feel the road now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely feel it's a little bit firmer.
and it seems like there's more power, I think, from the throttle response.
The sort of map, yeah.
Map, yeah.
Yeah, all of our drive modes are 1500 horsepower, 1080
Okay.
absolute torque.
So if I slow it down a little here, kind of like come to a reasonable speed and then try a little pass here because it's kind of open. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's more aggressive even with the way it's changing or upshifting.
Well, if you put it in, if I flick you over here, so we have a small mode over here. Now you feel it holds that gear a lot longer. It's a lot more aggressive in terms of its gear shift pattern.
Okay.
Not the actual gear shift, but the pattern. So it holds the revs a lot longer.
Yeah.
And then it will change down a lot more aggressively. So it will change down
Let's see if I get down.
higher up here.
So change down under 3,000, or is there a good ideal spot for that because of the twin turbo or the quad? If I do it now,
If you do it on the paddles, yeah, you have the range around 300.
such a nerd. Okay. Do it one more time when it's a little smoother. So I like the manual mode because you can just have it on the ready.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. hear those wastegates as well, dropping the boost pressure.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's hard too. Like turbocharged vehicles, there's plenty of them out there, and it's like, even with an automatic, it's sometimes hard because the turbos are so small to figure out where, or pin down where where the best sweet spot is for the torque curve.
Right.
But in here, what I'm feeling is it's anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And here you don't have to really worry about it because we have 2,000 RPM to, 65, 66, where it peaks.
There really is no wrong gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did read that, like, first gear is effective all the way up to like 56 miles an hour. So you're accelerating, it changes to second gear. By the time it's done into second gear, you've already done 60 miles an hour in 2.4 seconds.
Yeah.
And
when you change into second gear, you're still on the torque curve, and if you change early, let's say, whatever you do by mistake, or you don't need to.
Do we need to take 10 or 610?
Saying left onto 290.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because you're still on the peak torque curve.
Yeah.
How it is.
That's the thing. It's so energized.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like some cars, like, where there's so much power, you're like, I gotta use it. I feel it's so smooth and effective, and I think that's why it's like, anytime I need it, I have it.
Yeah, it's very relaxing and refined, especially for 1,500 horsepower, but just generally as well.
Still in fifth gear, and I'm not even downshifting. He's moving over, thank you. Yeah, okay. Because he really needs to get somewhere. Oh, okay, so we stay straight.
Yeah, stay straight for a little bit longer. So before we come off the freeway, I'll drop it back into EV mode, and you'll feel the compliance return.
It's a big rotation.
Yeah, but it's if you notice with how smooth and oily that kind of switch is, there's a lot of engineering gone into it to.
It's well lubricated, is how it feels. Yeah, it's not notchy.
Beautiful.
There's a detent. I feel it, but it's not. It doesn't feel like anything cheap. I'd almost say like a good watch bezel.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Not that I own a good watch, but I'd imagine that's what a good watch does. So when I've changed the drive mode, it interestingly stays in the manual mode.
Yeah, so the drive mode and the gearbox modes are independent.
Okay. This is a fantastic experience.
Good.
And I can't wait to switch up to the Pure Sport to see the differences. I think we can discuss all that in that vehicle, but we won't take as long as a distracted route as I took. I'm sorry for that, guys, but this is a very unique experience. And I'm glad I've got the full 2.5 hours to go back to back. I mean, I'm here to bring all of that information to everyone who wants to know, no matter who you are. So please be sure to like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Do we get off soon? I think we get off at 8:10.
9B.
9B, okay.
0.3.
I'm going to put it back in drive.
So you push it to the right towards me.
Okay.
And actually one more, and I'll put it in drive. There you go.
Okay. Are we going to make it?
Yeah.
I mean, this car can be distracting to other drivers. I can see that. Like, they're just in awe. I mean, we've had several thumbs up along this trip, and
You get a lot of it, yeah.
a lot of people kind of like staying close, and still though keeping a distance. Obviously, like, no one needs an insurance claim at all. So I have a feeling though, like, I'm still not nervous. I'm not sweating. Everything's cool here, and I had 2 cups of coffee this morning. And no sleep, obviously, because I was so excited. But Yeah, I'd imagine I'm going to expect, without having driven it before yet, the Pure Sport is going to be raunchy. That's the word I'm going to use. Like, just total, like,
yeah, it's very different. It's a very different drive experience. But you'll enjoy it for sure.
We're going to go back up that same driveway?
No, if we go past it and take the next right, and we'll kind of come in the back way.
Okay, I'll let you give direction on that.
It makes life a little
or have, because I've only gone through this front one, which is obviously the angle.
Yeah, the dealer said to me that the coming in the back way is a little bit more
easier.
flat. Yeah.
I love the idle sound now.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hold that camera a little second. So that's what the mirror looks like. Whew. Wow, an hour in. This is exciting. This is exciting. Is that a phone? That's not a wireless phone charger. That's just a storage space. Okay.
Storage pad.
Ah, you know what it is? I'm feathering it in too gently, and it's the automated clutch.
Right. Okay.
That's what I'm feeling.
When you put away,
it's engaging quicker than I'm expecting. So not this driveway.
Not this driveway. Keep going.
Okay.
And
Is this?
it's the next one? Yeah. And if when you get a chance, it's okay here. But when we go in, hit the lift.
Yep, we're in lift.
Right. And you can feel there. That's an interesting thing when you come over a
Crest.
Transition like that. You can feel it actually lifting a wheel because it's so stiff on the top. So it actually picks the wheel up.
But you're gonna hear things. I mean, any car with carbon fiber, you're gonna sometimes get spooked by a noise because you're not. It's like a new thing, right? So for me, I'm comfortable with hearing noises. But is there? I mean, you're a crash expert. Is there any noise I should be worried about with carbon fiber? Other than
no, I don't think so. Not that I can think of. Top of my head.
Speaking of carbon fiber, the airbags are the first in the world that shoot out of carbon fiber housings.
Yeah, quite a difficult thing to do.
Which sounds like a very splintery deal, but
yeah, exactly. Which is why it's a tough thing to do safely, anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, my poor camera guy. I'm sure he's had a lot to look at. So where should I go? Straight to the right?
Just go forwards, yeah, and that's it right there. There is your next ride.
Yes. So I think what we'll do is we'll stop the video here, and then we'll start it again for the Pure Sport. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, we go to park, and then I'll set the parking brake, which is right there. Pull up on that. Straighten the wheel out. So we are still in lift mode, and off. Okay, there you go. The Bugatti Chiron Sport. Thank you, Jamie Morrow.
No worries. Pleasure.
Yes, that was awesome. So let's do the Pure Sport. See the difference.
Yeah.